Hey, BTB fans. This is Robbie here with one of our artists, Janine.
Hey!
And we have some Terminators here, and we're going to talk about them today.
Yeah, so these are some Terminators that we painted, or I painted up, and these were a lot of fun for me to do. I got to do a lot of cool techniques, especially some non-metallic metal, and the gold non-metallic metal and silver non-metallic metal stuff that I don't really get to play with very often. I always love painting red because there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with it. There's a lot of different shades of red. You can kind of go with more of an earthy red or kind of a more vibrant red or a darker, more, brown. And yeah, they're a lot of fun. A lot of these models are from the Space Hulk kit, and they have a lot of really cool dynamic poses to them, so that was a lot of fun to paint. And I always liked Terminators, even though I think they kind of look like the space hamsters in The Fifth Element. I don't know. I have a childhood affection for that movie, so maybe that's why I like them so much.
Awesome. So today, Janine is going to show us how to paint the white on those helmets there. White can always be kind of a tricky color, so hopefully through this we can give you some tips that will help you out.
Alright, so we've got our Terminator here. I've already painted the head black, which is kind of the base that I like to start from. It makes it really easy to get a lot of depth because you've already kind of got the lowest low point, and then we're going all the way up to the highest high point, which is white. So the colors we're going to use, we've got black, somber gray, wolf gray, and white. And this is kind of for a cool white, and it is my favorite color palette for doing this particular thing. So we're going to start out with a little bit of somber gray, and we're going to do kind of a thick dry brush, and you can see that my dry brush isn't particularly exciting or detailed because we're mostly concerned about getting coverage, not necessarily controlling it. So I'm going to get that on almost the entire head. Alright, so you can see that it's basically covered the entire thing, so there's still a little bit of dark places where the black is showing through underneath and kind of shading it. The next step is with the wolf gray. We're also going to do this as a dry brush, but it's going to be a very, very light dry brush. So I'm really taking almost all of the paint off of my brush, and I'm using a lot more pressure and control to kind of really pick out the edges of the helmet. I like wolf gray because it has enough pigment in it that it gets pretty decent coverage, but it's also light enough that it almost comes off as white just by itself. The trick with painting white, of course, is that you can't go any lighter than white. There's no way to highlight from that level, so you got to kind of use it as the very high highlight, and you can't use it to cover the entire model. Alright, so there you go. It almost looks like it's a white already. Okay, next step is white. For this step, I'm just going to pick out the edges of the miniature. The more white that you use when you're painting, the less your darker colors are going to read as white. So you actually want to use less than you think you need. Because the trick is not necessarily to paint the entire helmet white, it's to make the entire helmet look white or read as white on the table. So make sure you pick out the places where if the light were hitting from above it would catch, and pick out the very high edges to kind of maximize your contrast in those spots. All right, and then the last step would be to take your black and to go back and pick out this respirator piece on the front. For this, actually, a very easy way to do it is to kind of use a watery black and spread it around and kind of almost do a wash, and it does a lot of your work for you right there. So after it's dry, you can just go through and do a very light highlight because it already is pretty much shaded. And that is how you paint white.